So I'm watching the numbers climb as people join from the waiting room.
So you call this boot camp, right?
That's right. This is our boot camp. Today, it's all about women with ALD.
Oh,
We
great.
Part of a series. We also ran one that was all about men with AMN. We ran one on newborn screening and monitoring phase families with boys with ALD. And then we also ran one on childhood cerebral ALD.
Okay.
So gives us the opportunity to really deep dive and answer the questions, hold everyone in one place, and really just talk about their specific experience. And so with that, I will welcome everyone. Now we've got a big group from the waiting room. Welcome to the ALD Connect Bootcamp for Symptomatic Women. I'm Kathleen O'Sullivan-Fortin. I have ALD. I'm on the board of directors for ALD Connect. And on behalf of ALD Connect, I'd like to thank you for participating in this session, Looking Ahead, Future Studies. Today we are joined by Dr. Wolfgang Koehler and Dr. Lisa Schaefer from the University of Leipzig in Germany, who will speak about their current study for women on ALD. We are also joined by Jamison Seabury from the University of Rochester, who will speak about a forthcoming study for both men and women and with ALD that they're coordinating. As a quick note, please note that this webinar is for informational purposes only. The discussion is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you or a family member are ill or suspect that you or a family member are ill, seek professional medical attention immediately. ALD Connect does not recommend or endorse any specific physicians, treatments, procedures, or products, even though they may be mentioned on this webinar. Any questions can be submitted in the chat. And with that, Dr. Koehler, I will turn it over to you.
Oh, thanks very much. I'm very happy to be participant of my first online boot camp. So this will be a great experience for me. Well, just to introduce myself a little bit, I'm adult neurologist working here in the Leipzig Leukodystrophy Center for about 3 years now. And before that, I was working on leukodystrophies for about maybe 30 years, I don't know exactly. So there's a great experience, especially in the work with ALD patients and all kinds of, all phenotypes of ALD patients, of course, a lot of women. So over the years, I think I took care about maybe 300-400 women with ALD. So from that, we got the impression that there are really special needs in this group of people, because we think that many of the women do have relevant clinical symptoms that are frequently not addressed adequately. That's at least my experience and feeling. And also, we think that many women take more care of others than of themselves. And even though they have a very big, at least psychological burden, being a carrier of this disease and causing a sense of guilt a little bit. And so we see frequently women who are severely depressed, which is again not very much good addressed in a clinical setting, because the children are on the front line, and of course the frequently more disabled men are also addressed much more than the women. So we started an initiative recently, which has 2 steps. And the first steps is we want to have much more insights in the care on the life situation of women with ALD, and then we intended to have a project to take much more care of the situation of these women. And I'm very happy that Lisa is today with me. Lisa Schaefer is in my team. She is a psychologist, and she is heading this program on women with ALD, and she will report you on the ongoing research of the state of health research, and also the quality of life research in women. And also she will tell you something about the project that we intend to do starting next year. So with that, I hand over to Lisa.
Thank you. So I quickly share my screen because I prepared some slides. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks to ALD Connect for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to introduce you briefly in our 2 studies we are currently conducting. And as Dr. Koehler already said, we aim to increase the awareness of symptomatic courses in women with ALD, and we like to develop and improve new treatment options for women with ALD, as ALD research in the past years mainly has focused on men due to the X-linked inheritance. And women usually show milder symptoms and a later onset of ALD symptoms. And so they are frequently underestimated, overlooked, and misinterpreted the symptoms by healthcare providers. And further, as also Dr. Koehler already said, we have the feeling that women with ALD are frequently lost out of sight, especially when it comes to treatment, because they are fully engaged, for instance, in the care of a deceased child, or because symptoms are neglected. So they are even not aware that they have neurological signs or symptoms due to ALD. For this reason, Dr. Koehler and I started a study to conduct, we conduct a study in which we ask women with ALD to complete questionnaires, and that they report if they have symptoms or not, and if yes, we want to find out how the impact of the symptoms is on their quality of life. So in particular, we are interested in how many women with ALD develop, what kind of symptoms, at what age. And we also want to evaluate the impact of the symptoms on women's quality of life. Further, we also like to compare asymptomatic with symptomatic women regarding their quality of life. And we further are also interested in how well symptomatic women with ALD are connected to medical care, especially to specialized medical care for their disease, and if they are actually satisfied with the current treatment options they have, or if they have any wishes for future treatment. And this study is an online study, a questionnaire study, which is on Leuconnect. Leuconnect is a patient platform run by ELA International. ELA stands for European Leukodystrophy Association. And if you are not a member or not registered yet on Leuconnect, you first have to sign up for Leuconnect, and then you can apply for the study, and then you will be asked to complete a couple of questionnaires which are available online and available also in English, but also in French and German. And currently I'm also working on an Italian and Spanish version, which will be available hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And I guess it will take you around approximately 1 hour to fill out the questionnaires. You can also save questionnaires and continue them later. And we guarantee you protection of your personal data, which means that all information that contain your name or initials will be replaced by a numerical code. So later on, we also like to publish the results. Nobody knows who or can't connect the data with your person anymore. And of course, we invite all women with ALD to take part in the study. Doesn't matter if they have symptoms or not, but they have to be at least 18 years old. And we also like to reach many asymptomatic women. So far, many women who have already took part in this study have symptoms, and this might be a bias due to recruitment. So we, of course, we ask mainly, or we reach mainly women who are already connected to treatment, who are patients in our clinic, and this might bias the picture, the picture of the actual rate of symptomatic courses in women with ALD in the population. So therefore, we call on you not only to participate in the study yourself, but also to make your female relatives with ALD aware of the study, regardless of their age or if they have symptoms or not. And in the next slide, I like to present you some just basic data. So far, we have received the completed questionnaires back from a total of 167 women with ALD. And table 1 shows the number of participants divided by country. And as you can see, most women with ALD who have already participated in the study are from Germany, followed by France. And we would be really happy if you could increase if we could increase the number of women from the USA. I heard from Kelly that a lot of women with ALD signed up for this bootcamp. So it would be awesome if I can update the number of participants from the USA in this table to maybe 100 in the next weeks. Table 2 shows the number of participants divided by age group. And as you can see, most women who participated so far are between 40 and 70 years old, which is surely due to the fact that women mostly develop symptoms at this age and seek for treatment. And as I said, most participants are patients in our clinic. But we were also able to include a few younger women with asking our patients to tell affected female female family members about the study. And last but not least, I show you figure 1. Figure 1 shows the frequency of symptoms divided by age. And as you can see on the total number, more than 70% of the total sample are symptomatic on self-report. And as expected, the rate of symptomatic courses is highest in women between 50 and 70 years. However, there were also a few women who reported symptoms at a young age, and again, women over 70 who are asymptomatic on self-report. I think this is also quite interesting data. Our research not only aims to describing the natural history of women with ALD and the current state of medical care for them, we also like to significantly improve their treatment. And in the following, I will briefly introduce you a second study we will start next year. This will be an interventional study. And in this study, we are testing a new, more intensive treatment for symptomatic women with ALD. The treatment will be a lifestyle intervention, which we called Smart ALD, and with which we want to improve the physical and mental well-being and quality of life of women with ALD. And during Smart ALD, women will receive personalized video face-to-face consultations. The Smart ALD intervention offers medical, psychological, and social counseling, as well as personalized physical fitness training and disease-specific nutritional consultation. And the scope and intensity of Smart ALD intervention is tailored to individual needs, which means that from the beginning or at the beginning, we will decide together with the participant which consultations are needed and with what regularity. So this new lifestyle intervention is personalized, disease-specific, and it also offers an easy access by using video consultations. That means the whole study or the whole lifestyle intervention will be done online. So participants don't have to come to our clinic. We can do it with video consultations, which I think is a huge advantage, not only in pandemic times, but also for rare diseases that patients don't have to travel on a regular basis to a specialized treatment center. They can get more intensive consultation by eHealth technology. And on that slide, I just show you quickly the study design, as this is a clinical trial testing the potential positive effect of Smart ALD on women's quality of life. There will be two groups. And that means that half of the participants will receive the Smart ALD intervention right from the beginning for 1 year, but half of the participants must wait a period of 6 months, and then they will get 6 months Smart ALD. This is necessary as we want to compare the quality of life of participants who received Smart ALD compared to those who didn't. So this time point T1 called after 6 months, there we can compare patients who received Smart ALD compared to patients who didn't, to measure the effect of this intervention. And as I told you, this project is still in the planning phase, and it won't start before next year. And unfortunately, study participation is limited to German-speaking women with ALD, as this intervention is primarily based on individual interactive sessions with multidisciplinary German-speaking health professionals with expertise with ALD. So unfortunately, if you can't speak German, you cannot apply for the study. However, if Smart ALD is successful, we will provide manuals for the intervention in English and also in other languages, so that replication in other studies is possible, in other countries is possible. Thank you very much. And I think we are open for questions later after. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And now I'll hand it over. I have a bunch of follow-up questions. I will save them. I'll pass it over to Jamison Seabury from the University of Rochester.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamison Seabury, and I'm a research coordinator with Dr. Chad Heatwell's Clinical Outcomes Lab at the University of Rochester. It's great to be here today at ALD Bootcamp. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be a part of this special event. So today I'm just going to be providing an overview of our group and the research that we do, along with the ALD research that we're currently conducting. And then I'm happy to open it up and answer any questions that you might have. So to start off, the University of Rochester Center for Health and Technology, or CHET, is an academic research organization. We have a very extensive and diverse team here at CHET, and listed here are the many different players that make our research possible. And so our group really focuses on developing disease-specific patient-reported outcome measures for many different disease populations to improve clinical trial infrastructure. And this motto here is really central to what we do here at CHET, and our goal is really to develop highly responsive clinical trial outcomes tools, elevate clinical care, and make research more widely accessible. Listed here are the populations that our group has either already developed or are currently developing disease-specific instruments for. As you can see, most of our work has been in the neuromuscular disease space, although we have ventured into other populations, including Crohn's disease and lung cancer. So a patient-reported outcome measure, or a PRO for short, is a survey that's completed by a patient to measure their disease burden at a given point in time. It's a survey that's disease-specific and asks a patient questions about their health that are highly relevant to them and their experience with their disease. Patient-reported outcome measures are useful for measuring small but important changes in health during clinical trials and clinical monitoring. So why take the effort to develop one of these tools? Well, it's extremely important that therapies are evaluated based on their direct relevance to a patient, and PROs allow patients to provide a voice into the effectiveness of a therapy during a clinical trial. PROs can often be more sensitive to clinically relevant changes when compared to traditional functional measures or generic quality of life surveys that are often used in therapeutic trials. Additionally, the FDA has identified PROs as a valid mechanism to support drug labeling claims. This slide here shows that PROs are widely used by different entities such as academic center-initiated trials, government-funded trials, pharmaceutical-sponsored trials, as well as foundation investigations and patient registries. So how do we go about developing one of these instruments? So this figure here shows a very broad overview of the process that's required to develop one of these highly sensitive and valid clinical trial tools. So we begin this process by characterizing disease burden experienced by a given population. And more specifically, we want to find out the prevalence and relative importance of the symptoms associated with a given disease. So we accomplish this by first conducting qualitative interviews with patients, as well as a large cross-sectional study with patients. We then use that data to develop the first version of the PRO instrument, which will include the symptoms identified by patients as having the highest prevalence and importance. We then go on to validate the first version of the instrument and fine-tune it. So we use cognitive interviews to assess the usability of the first version of the instrument. We also use those interviews to receive feedback from participants on how we can possibly improve it. And this might involve adding questions back to the instrument, rewording them, or deleting them. Another validation step we do is test-retest reliability, where we ask participants to complete the instrument twice, separated by 2 weeks. And so questions in the instrument that are subject to change significantly over a 2-week period are considered for removal from the instrument. And so once the instrument is complete, we'll look to facilitate its widespread use in ALD therapeutic trials. So far, we have completed semi-structured qualitative interviews with 17 individuals with ALD. And during those interviews, we ask questions about the physical, social, mental, emotional, and disease-specific symptoms of ALD to really get an idea of the symptoms that are most important to individuals with ALD. So we audio recorded these interviews and transcribed them, And these interviews are currently being analyzed by our research team. Next, we'll identify quotes from these interviews that mention symptomatic burden, and we'll find out how many times participants in phase 1 mentioned each symptom. We'll use this data to generate our phase 2 survey. For phase 2, we'll partner with ALD Connect and ULF to have as many participants as possible complete our survey. The survey will ask about the symptoms of importance identified during phase 1 interviews. The survey will ask participants to rate on a Likert scale how each symptom asked about impacts their life. From the survey data, we'll obtain the prevalence and relative importance for each symptom question. This data will be essential in allowing us to develop the first version of the ALD PRO instrument. So throughout this research, we want to hear from both symptomatic and asymptomatic women with ALD. This will give us a really refined picture of the symptoms and issues of greatest importance to this community. We'll be launching the phase 2 cross-sectional study in the upcoming months, and the more participation we can get, the better. So the survey link will be emailed to registry members from ALD Connect, and the survey can be completed online in about 20 minutes or less. Additionally, in the future, we'll be conducting validation steps where we'll have individuals with ALD provide feedback on the PRO instrument and also complete test-retest reliability. And lastly, I just want to say a big thank you from our chat outcomes team for your time today. This research would not be made possible without ALD Connect and participants like you. I'm happy to take questions at this time.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for these presentations. The questions are coming in. One thing I will ask both of you is, was it a tough decision to consider including women? Like, I know, Lisa, it seems like the whole point of the project is to include women. But for Jamison, I know that this is both a study of men and women and kind of the adult ALD sphere. And was there any hesitancy or resistance to bringing these two projects to fruition?
I think really going forward in this research, there were conversations that, highlighting the importance of we need to hear from as many men and women as possible to make this the most sensitive and valid clinical trial tool going forward for ALD research. So I really think that I just want to emphasize that importance of, for phase 2, we really want to hear from as many men and women as possible, ranging from asymptomatic to symptomatic. And so I really do think that's central to our goal in developing this instrument.
Great. And Lisa, you obviously saw such an unmet need.
Yeah. I think, I mean, we also do other research, but with men, but now I think it was time to start to focus on women. And when I did some literature research, I saw that there's nearly nothing to women and their quality of life. And for instance, I read a paper which was published 10 years ago, and then they are speaking about women won't get any symptoms, or only 20% of women will get symptoms. And now we just know also from our clinical experience that this is not the case. And I'm also very surprised. For instance, 2 weeks ago, I had a young patient, and I asked him how his mother is, and he was really like, "Why are you asking me that?" So I think there are a lot of women who are not even aware that they might have symptoms, or they don't, they neglect them, or they feel that they don't have time, or they don't want to confront them with this and don't go into treatment. So I think it's a good project, not only to raise awareness for ALDs women, for for medical providers, but also for women themselves, that they they be more aware that this might be the case, that they will get symptoms.
Absolutely. This is a common recurrent theme that has been coming up in today's boot camp, is that there are, you know, the outcomes of women who are either ignoring their symptoms or who have been told that they may have symptoms, but they're not from ALD, because women don't get it.
Yes.
You know, and also I think I'm impressed to see that your team includes social work and mental health components, because for sure your quality of life is decreased if you are, you know, in direct proportion probably to how you're suffering with your mental health.
Yeah.
And
That's
guilt
right.
and everything that is coming up.
Yeah.
So another question so both of these projects will create tools and lay the groundwork for additional, hopefully, additional work and therapeutics being developed for women. And I'm just curious, I have asked some of our industry friends from time to time why they are not enrolling women in their studies. And at one point, someone told me that women were too complicated to include in AMN studies. And Dr. Koehler, I appreciate your response, your reaction. Is it really true? Are women that complicated that we cannot?
Absolutely. No, I don't think. I think the more important is that hopefully in most of the women there is a very slow progress, and for a clinical trial you need a quicker progress to see a result of your intervention. In usual, I would say if you would like to make a clinical trial to test a new medication, for example, or any kind of intervention, you would need a long period of long study period, which is usually not being financed by sponsors, and this is the bad thing of it. But still, we think that we can really try to have a very personal intervention and have some success in a shorter period of time, not necessarily using some medications, but just looking at the situation of the personal situation of women. What is her personal situation, and can we improve this? And I think there's lots of things to do on an individual basis. So I think this is at least something that we can do right now, even though it's not a new medication or so. But this also will be a problem. For example, there are new medications out there for clinical trials which are performed in men with ALD, and it's absolutely not clear if these medications, even though they are very helpful in AMN men, they will also be approved for the women by the authorities, because they're not tested in women. So this is for me, it's really a great problem, and of course we are fighting once there is new medication that also the women can have a benefit from this, but it's that's not very clear. So it all depends, of course, on the other regulative authorities, both in the US and in the EU. It's very much the same, I think. So these are the problems that occur in this situation.
Sure, absolutely. There's a really excellent question from the Q&A that I will read. How do you find enough asymptomatic patients when relatively few adults ever get screened for ALD? And she notes, she was asymptomatic for around 55 years, and once she did try to figure out the source of her symptoms, ALD was never considered. She was 67 before she was diagnosed, and it was only because a family member was diagnosed, a male family member.
Yeah, I think
So-
Lisa addressed this point very, very good. I think we really have the impression that it's what we see in the clinic and the leukodystrophy centers is of course biased. Nearly all women who come to our center do have symptoms. That's why they're coming for trying to get some help. So we have not a good idea how much women really are asymptomatic. But we know, as Lisa already showed in our first data that we get as a response from the questionnaires, that there are, of course, there are women in their 60s and their 70s who don't have any kind of symptoms. So this is also an important message for the women, that they're not necessarily involved in this disease. They can come out without symptoms, and of course we need more information about this, and that's what Lisa urgently was saying, that in the family you should look for other women who do have the gene for ALD, and trying to involve as much asymptomatic women as possible. So get more information on this.
Sure. So the advancements in newborn screening should help this problem or this challenge in enrolling asymptomatic women, because, at this point in the United States, more than 1 out of 2 babies born are screened for ALD, and, male or female. And then hopefully.
Well, Kathleen, I don't think that this problem that we discussed right now is really addressed by newborn screening. As in many countries, for example, the females are not further tested. For example, in the Netherlands,
Right.
for good reasons, so they are also focusing on the males. But I think the problem is more in the MS scene. Yeah, my experience is that most of the women with ALD who don't have a family history of ALD are treated as multiple sclerosis for many years, with many drugs, with many serious drugs. And then they get symptoms from the drugs, and not only from ALD. So I think it's more important to have to spread this information that we get, both of us, Jamison also, and also on our information that we get, to spread this information within the MS and the multiple sclerosis scene. Maybe some of the participants of this bootcamp will also have the same experience, that they were treated for MS before they were diagnosed for ALD.
Absolutely. I know they can chime in on their own, but I know many women who have reported that they were misdiagnosed as MS. They had spinal stenosis. They had unnecessary spinal surgeries. The list goes on. HSP, arthritis, a whole combination of kind of typical misdiagnoses. Speaking of MS, Janice asked, are there any MS drugs, do you think, that might benefit women with ALD? Do you know if there are any
No, absolutely no. Definitely no. There's no known drug that is really helpful in ALD, except of course for symptomatic treatments, because it's similar symptoms. I mean, both groups do have spasticity or bladder dysfunction, so we have a symptomatic treatment for these, and this of course is helpful. But the specific treatments for multiple sclerosis are not working at all in ALD.
So we need to figure out how to advance the work you guys are doing so that more people can get funding to do additional interventional work in women. Is there anything that you see as a place for ALD Connect or for all of us? You know, there's 100 women signed up today, but we all have families. We all have, besides reaching out to our asymptomatic family members and community members and asking them to participate, is there anything else that ALD Connect can do to help advance both your projects?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe Jamison, you can talk about this, but I would say we are not interested only in looking at German women. So I think it would be really nice to have a worldwide project seeing maybe differences in different countries, how women are treated with this condition, and how is the care, is this, so that we probably can learn from each other. We can learn maybe if is the care of ALD women in Scandinavia better, for example, than the US and or in Germany, whatever. So we can learn from each other. So we are very interested and that's why we have it in different languages. So we hope that that this was in response of this boot camp. Maybe there's a dramatic increase of people who are participating in this study, so we can have more information worldwide. So this would be a great thing. So we surely also will work together with other efforts, and ALD Connect can connect this.
Yes. Well, for sure. I know that, you know, we watched you had some great webinars that talked about how to get into LuConnect, how to sign up, how to apply. And certainly we've had many patients reach out to us and, you know, for assistance in just figuring things out. So I hope that people continue to view us as a resource to help you enroll, you know, stateside. One question that was posted in the chat was someone was trying to open, we had shared the link to the study in the chat, so people can just click right here while we're chatting. And someone mentioned that they couldn't log in from Russia. Are there is that a technology issue? Is it maybe the system isn't set up to accept responses from certain places, or?
Might be a technical problem. She can get in touch with Elise, or she can write me an email, and I will, send it or forward it to Elise. She runs this platform. She knows better than me. But I know that a couple of months ago they had problems with telephone numbers, but I think they fixed that problem. So I don't know if the women did it recently to try to sign up, or if it's longer ago. But yeah, if there are any problems, just write me an email or write an email to Elise.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I think we noticed that when the ALD community went online and pivoted, leading to this online bootcamp because of the pandemic, that we are getting, ALD Connect has noticed that we are reaching we're reaching patients in many, many more countries than we ever thought were participating in our programming. So hopefully people are feel good about signing in and really jumping into this fight. So I had one question to follow up on your SMART ALD presentation. You said people had to be German speakers. Is it necessary that they be in Germany, or it can be any German speaker from around the world who wants to participate? Is that correct?
Yes, because the intervention is online, so it doesn't matter where you are. But yeah, for communication, it's necessary that you can speak German.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's exciting. January cannot come soon enough then, because that. I mean, you guys have some things I'm sure you need time, but for the patients, that's exciting. And then Jamison, I know that you guys you have finished phase 1 and you're working through phase 1. We had someone had texted me a question. was there a mix of men and women in phase 1 in that first interview session?
Yes, that's correct. We interviewed 17 men and women with ALD, and so we're currently analyzing those transcripts, and we really look forward to seeing that data. I think it'll really highlight, that'll be really the driver for how we generate our phase 2 survey, and then really looking to see a refined picture of the symptomatic burden in men and women with ALD, and really seeing those similarities and differences. We look forward to sharing that with this community.
That would be great. You're both welcome anytime to share anything you have, and we will promote it and we will share it with everyone. We'll get the right ears and eyes on your projects. Jamison, can I ask, at the end, so I know there's all these different phases, at the end, what is the end goal? Is it you've created this QL tool? Is it publication? Is it presentation at a scientific, like how can this have lasting impact afterwards? How do we get this woven into all the studies that are coming?
Sure. So we, throughout this research in prior disease populations, so we actually finished with 2 publications. Our first publication is really a characterization of the patient-reported disease burden as identified from our phase 1 interviews and our phase 2 cross-sectional survey. So that'll be really interesting data to report to see the symptoms in areas of the greatest prevalence and relative importance, and also taking a look at the demographic subgroups and how these areas of health differ between different demographic subgroups of individuals. And then we'll also publish an instrument development paper, which will highlight our process and how we went about developing this patient-reported outcome measure. And so that'll be another publication that'll be available to the ALD research community. And the final goal or the product will be the ultimate, the patient-reported outcome measure instrument, which we hope to facilitate widespread use of.
Excellent. Well, again, I know what's going to happen. I can't wait. I think it is really going to stoke the flames of, research that is going to come. I'm just checking here. Oh, there's a question about newborn screening in the EU, and Dr. Koehler, I'm not sure you want to take that on, but are there any indications that it may become more widespread, or is there any way that we as ALD Connect and patients that are participating can help there?
Well, this is we have this pilot. There's a pilot project working in the Netherlands, which is very successful. Stefan Kemp is the main person. You all know him, I think, and he is. Oh, sorry. I'm on duty, so this is.
Oh.
There is a big effort in the UK, for example, but there had 2 rounds were rejected already. So from the authorities, it's the parent organization, the patient organization is applying for it. So we are all supporting this effort in the UK, but we are not successful yet. The German patient organization is also supporting an effort in Germany, but it's very preliminary. So it's not very much in Europe, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully that gets online as well. So we've just a few minutes left. Oh.
So excuse me, I have to go on the phone a little bit.
Feel free. Yeah, no, thank you. We're sorry to interfere with your being on call. We're so grateful you participated. I'm just noting in the chat that Elizabeth had noted she wanted to thank Dr. Koehler for seeing women with ALD for many years. I had to go from Norway to the US ULF meeting to get a name of a doctor, an ALD doctor in Europe. I tried to get help from my mother for her symptoms. The Norwegian neurologist said to me, no, women do not get symptoms.
Mm.
So that still happens.
Yeah, I know. Mm.
So hopefully the projects that you are both working on will raise the energy, will bring it further to light so that people pay attention, because I can tell you on the other side of these Zoom screens, there's a tremendous amount of unmet need. And so I'm so grateful, Lisa, that you're working on this project and to put together like a holistic dream team of smart ALD. It's about time. You know, it was mentioned in a previous panel that we had that cancer care is already dealing with things, you know, in a more team-based manner. And we could really desperately use it here in rare neurology and in ALD. So I'm noting they wanted to update that there's a patient register in Scandinavia. So for people who are viewing from those parts, please feel free to join, as well as ALD Connect. We are always trying to get people to stay engaged, and we'll certainly, you know, if you get our newsletters, which you all do because you're here at the boot camp, we will pass along any updates and anything from both of these projects, and hopefully more projects to come. Thank you all for being here. We're short on time, and I did promise that we were going to save breaks. We're so grateful for you taking time on a Saturday, and it's so late, Lisa. So thank you so much for being willing to be with us and share the important work you're doing. Everyone, I welcome you to take a break, and if you're interested, please come back. Starting at the top of the next hour will be a full discussion where we leave panels and we go into all of us being together in one room to get questions and answers and figure things out. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you.